Hi everybody, it's Net from the Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about how do we tell our universe we are ready for our higher consciousness realities, for our superpowers to start coming through, meaning our clairvoyance, our clairaudience, all of our, people would say, psychic powers to come through. How do we tell our universe we're ready? So I get this question quite a bit when people first start having the weird stuff start to happen where they might feel like they're a little more psychic than normal. They start to being able to pick up on coincidences that aren't really coincidences. They're starting to put different things together in their reality. And I'm going to say this is beginning phases, and in a way it is kind of the beginning, but in another way we've sort of been waking up from our human reality since we were born. So keep in mind that some of the language I use is just kind of to convey a point. It's not like 100% that simple. But what can you do? I totally just lost my train of thought and I don't want to start again. So let me see if I can pick it back up again. To show your universe that you are prepared for the next phases of your journey. And this one can be not as fundamental as people would think. Sometimes we start to pick up more, which I think I've already said. We start to pick up more, we start to notice different things, and we want to enhance that. So we might go into seeker mode, right? We start looking up, what is telepathy? What is clairvoyance? Can you really dream the future? All these kind of topics that all of a sudden you have curiosity about, because maybe you dreamed something last night and then you start to see it happen. Or you had a dream about a person, they had the same dream. So you're starting to see the kind of connection between people all over. Everyone, you're connected to everyone in a sense. Through the unified field of consciousness, everyone is connected. So you're starting to kind of pick up on that. You might be thinking about a person and then they text you because you picked up on that they were about to show back up. So you're going to find your powers are going to increase the higher your vibration goes. It depends on the level of purity you hold in your body is what you're going to be able to see. You might start off seeing, 2 hours down a timeline, knowing that I had one lady explain it that she knew she had to take a scrunchie for something, and 2 hours later someone asked her for a scrunchie for their hair. She could see down the timeline. It might have been a couple of hours, but she could see the timeline. Eventually you'll get to where you can see the entire timeline, right? You can see in the energy it starts from how that timeline would end. Now, if you start the timeline in a different energy, it's going to be a different timeline. It's going to be a higher timeline, depending on what energy you started in. So be aware that these things start to happen, and you might start to research it more, right? You want to know more about it. And all of a sudden, you might see different courses on these things taught, right? Now, one of the big ways to tell your universe you're ready is to start paying for these things. Now, there's a point in time where a lot of things you're going to notice come across for free. And that's a big indication that, you're supposed to be exposed to the material. You're supposed to be exposed to the consciousness. But there might come a time when all of a sudden you might see a class that you have to pay for. And sometimes it can be not what our human would want to do to have to pay for something, because it's not a tangible thing you can show somebody. And a lot of times when we're in our human consciousness, we don't value anything that's related to expanding our consciousness or for our soul. There's a thing that someone would say all the time: how much do you pay for how much is your soul worth, right? What is that worth to you? And you'd be surprised how many people don't value that. And when you start to value that and show your universe you're valuing that, you're following what you're supposed to do. You're following the fact that you really want to take this class, and all of a sudden the money shows up to take this class. And instead of investing it in, a new computer or a new phone, you go ahead and invest it in the class. Now, you might find when the class comes around, you don't even feel the need to take the class anymore, because you've had so much expansion and growth before the time for the class even comes, that you don't even need to be there. That happens quite a bit, actually, where you might sign up for something and then later decide, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. But that was the activation for you. That was the beginning. You told your universe, hey, I'm ready. I'm willing to pay for this now. And the minute I'm willing to pay for this, then all of a sudden, all this stuff starts opening up for me, because I'm showing I value it. It's the value of it. So you might take the class. You might not have to take the class. And it might not just be something completely related to that linear, like a class on consciousness or a class on something that interests you. It doesn't have to be directly consciousness, but anything that interests you, that inspires you on a soul level, that's the stuff you want to start paying attention to and what you're willing to pay for it. And even if it's not a money value, but you will find eventually there will be a money value attached to it. And you're also going to find that whatever you spend on it, you will get back. And you'll get it back in really kind of weird ways in the beginning, but it all comes back. It might not come back in a linear way. I've seen people go through timelines where they wouldn't spend the $200 on something that was soul related, but 3 days later their heating and air broke or their air conditioning broke, or I can't remember specifically what it was, but something happened and it cost them 3 or 4 times more later on. So you kind of start these timelines when you're not investing in soul related activities and other stuff starts coming up because you're kind of showing you're not ready. So you're going to stay in the human realities a little bit longer. So just be aware when that stuff starts to happen, that a lot of these timelines, especially with money, we create a lot of that stuff. But if you do start to invest in it, however you want to invest in it, it might just be buying the books. It could be talking to someone that interests you. It could be anything. But you'll know when it's time for you to put your money into it. Because in the beginning, we don't want to put our money into it. I didn't want to put my money into it. I didn't want to even put my money into talking to anyone really about it. I remember thinking it cost too much. And then we have to kind of, when we get into doing this type of work, we have to kind of go through that where other people will say that back to us, but it's sort of us completing that karmic cycle of us not appreciating it. So then we have to then clear out all of that karmic debt where we get people who don't appreciate it. So it's kind of like part of the cycle. But just be aware of these types of things. I've had 2 videos tonight and 2 cats basically walk all over everything the minute I start a video. So if this goes out, I don't think I'm going to start it again, but that would be why, because the cat is trying to disconnect it. Okay, so oh, it's almost comical tonight. So, okay. So just be aware of what you want to invest your money in. And it might even be a project. If it's a soul project that you really want to do, a really creative project you really want to do, but you don't want to invest your own money into it, you're going to have a hard time getting someone else to invest their money into it. In the human realms, we would kind of be in that mindset where we would want other people to invest in us or invest in our idea, but we wouldn't want to invest our money. And that's a very human consciousness role of thinking in a sense. We want everyone else to invest in us, but we don't want to do it. And in the higher realms, it really doesn't work that way. You have to be willing to invest in yourself and also invest in other people before anyone's going to invest in you. If you don't support other people, no one's going to support you. It doesn't work. It's kind of very reciprocal energy in a sense. Now, it might not come back around immediately, but because sometimes the timelines take longer to play out. But you'll find the higher you go in vibration, the timelines get a lot shorter as to how long it takes this stuff to come back and either reward you or bite you in the butt because you didn't make the right decision in a sense, or you made a decision that was not soul aligned. You compromised. You compromised over the money. Or you compromised because you didn't want to spend the money, or you spent it on something else that was not soul aligned. You'll know if it's soul aligned if the money's there. If the money's not there, it's not soul aligned. But then people want to pay kind of the credit game for it, and that's just a whole other human thing. But so just be aware of how you tell your universe you're ready. And it might not be money in the beginning. Maybe it's just attending a course. You might all of a sudden see a lot of free stuff that gets you. And it's taking the time out because, time is energy. Money is energy. It's investing yourself in it. If you're not willing to invest yourself in it, you're not going to see the type of expansion you're going to want to see because you're telling your universe you're not ready yet. You're telling your universe you're not willing to put it all out there for it, for your gifts to start opening up, for your consciousness to start to expand, to be able to see all the connecting layers, in your matrix and everything that really is going on, and really live those amazing soul aligned realities. And you don't really get those until you really start to put it on the line, and that's everything you have. I've dealt with a lot of people who wanted everyone else to put everything in, but they didn't want to. And anytime I deal with anyone like that, I kind of know how that's going to end. even if they get the money from other people, it's not going to end the way they want it to, because you have to be willing to do it yourself to an extent. It is your soul you're talking about. It's not somebody else's. So you have to be willing to invest yourself and invest your money and support other people. There'll be times when you have a lot more money to do the supporting, and there might be times when you don't. And then you're waiting, not really waiting, but then other people will be supporting you. But that's also because you might have paid it forward before. And if you didn't pay it forward before, you're going to have a harder time finding the people to support you. So just be aware that it's a big way to open up to tell your universe you're ready. Even like buying crystals, buying Andaras, buying anything that activates your consciousness, that excites you. Those are ways you're telling your universe, hey, I'm ready. You can even say the words, hey, I'm ready. Show me what I have to do to prove I'm ready for all these amazing things to start to happen. And then look what comes in your reality. Look what you're shown to do. Look what presses on you. For me, it used to kind of press on me. Like I knew I had to do it. It would just press and press and press and press. Sometimes, even when it starts now, I kind of get to the point where I'm just talking to myself, but I'm like, okay, I get it. I'll do it as soon as I get back home. I know I got to do it. I'm going to do it. Just stop it. I know I got to do it. So you'll know what you have to do. You will be faced with it again and again and again and again until you make the choice where you actually say, yeah, I'm ready. Because I hear a lot of people say, hey, I'm ready, but they don't want to invest the energy. And that means the time or the money into it. But they'll invest it in other things that aren't soul aligned, that are more human aligned, that are more for an external view of how the reality is and not the internal view of how your reality is. When you start investing in your internal view, how your connection is with yourself and strengthening that connection, then you're going to see everything start to open up. But until you make that switch to where it's not about the external stuff, you're not going to see the growth you're going to want to see. That is kind of your test to show I'm ready. So get ready and keep practicing the art of intuition.